This is the Chapter 1 of the High Angle Rope Rescue class, and we're going to be talking about the high angle environment. Some of the objectives we want to get to today is describe different ways of operating in a high angle environment. We're going to be able to identify and describe several types of high angle rescue. We want to be able to identify the basic principles for high angle rope technicians to follow, and we want to identify the skills a rope rescue technician should learn and maintain through continued training. Throughout history, humans have been able to conquer much of the world around them through innovation, making it possible to operate in difficult or hostile environments. One of the last environments conquered by humans is the high angle environment. Gravity is the great adversary in the high angle environment. Humans have been able to create ways to overcome it temporarily. In some cases, they have found ways to use it to their advantage. There are a number of different ways of operating in the high angle environment depending on your needs. Mountaineering is a vertical endeavor people have engaged in for hundreds of years, either through necessity or for adventure. Mountaineering often combines skills such as climbing, camping, and snow and ice travel. This oftentimes harsh environment not only tests your ability to climb, but often tests the will to survive against the very worst of natural forces. Tremendous advances have been made in mountaineering equipment since World War II. The most notable advancement is the development of ropes using synthetic fibers. Many of the skills, equipment, and techniques we will focus on in this class come directly from mountaineering and climbing. Climbing is a more specialized activity than mountaineering. Climbing is most oftentimes further defined as rock climbing. Climbing, or its close cousin traversing, may involve little to no change in altitude, or it may involve the ascent of a challenging piece of rock that requires weeks for the climber to work out the moves. This picture is El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. At over 3,000 feet, it is one of the tallest sheer vertical wall formations in the country. First climbed in 1958, it took 47 days to complete the ascent. However, in 2017, Alex Arnold climbed the free rider line to the top of El Cap in 3 hours and 56 minutes using a technique known as free solo climbing, where he had very limited equipment and no safety rope attached. Top roping is a type of climbing where a belay rope is dropped from the top, or, as in this illustration, a change of direction at the top and is then tended by a belayer as the person climbs. This affords the climber a safety connection in the event they should fall. We'll cover the importance of belays in their meetings as the class moves along. Lead climbing is another variation of climbing. In lead climbing, there is a lead climber who drags the rope up with him or her. And periodically, depending on the difficulty of the route and availability of anchors, the lead climber puts on an anchor, threads the climbing rope through the anchor, and then continues on. The issue with lead climbing is you're always exposed to a fall factor until you reach the next anchor or set the next anchor. Rope rescue technicians and industrial access workers may encounter the need to lead climb in certain situations, such as tower rescue. Free climbing is a variation on rock climbing where very little equipment is used. Often, if a lead is used, it's done in portions of a route called pitches. Only in these pitches will the climbers have any protection. Free solo climbing is done alone and with no equipment except for a chalk bag to keep the hands dry and grippy. Vertical caving is a sport that combines both caving and climbing techniques. Vertical caving involves both rappelling and ascending or climbing a rope. Instead of using rock formations to climb on, the vertical caver uses a rope as the access route. Vertical cavers can rappel hundreds of feet into pit-style caves, and once at the bottom, the caver must then begin an ascending operation using the rope as the path. The deepest cave in the world is the Slovenia and has a vertical drop of 1,978 feet. As a rope rescue technician, you will need to be versed in simple ascending systems to access victims and to use as a self-rescue technique if you get in trouble. Rope rescue, also called vertical rescue, is a skill set that uses specific equipment and techniques to access or reach victims who have become stranded in a vertical environment. Rope Rescue uses specialized equipment, techniques, and people. This class will be, for many of you, your first step in learning about the high-angle environment and the skills needed to operate within it safely. We will learn how to move the subject from the hazard, keep the victim stabilized and safe, and protect the subject from falling, not to mention keeping yourself safe at all times. In recent decades, there has been a major shift towards using equipment and techniques more specialized for rope rescue. For example, stronger static rescue ropes designed for rescue operations in the high-angle environment. Due to well-publicized tragedies and the urging of the fire service organizations, the use of life safety rope and associated equipment in the fire service has undergone tremendous change during recent decades. The most significant change may be the recognition that using natural fiber rope for life safety is a dangerous and irresponsible practice. In response to this realization, a massive changeover in fire departments has occurred. They now use synthetic fiber for life safety ropes. The increase in terrorist incidents and other forms of violence has prompted greater preparation by law enforcement and the military in the use of high-angle operations. Tactical practitioners have contributed to the high-angle technology used by many other disciplines, such as the adaptation and refinement of the figure 8 with ears descender device, also called a Rescue 8. Sorry folks, no guns in this class. Industrial rescue incidents can occur in high-angle and confined areas such as refineries, chemical plants, and open pit and underground mining sites. These areas pose the risk of falls, entrapment, medical emergencies, and exposure to dangerous materials. The principles of high-angle rescue are similar in industrial and natural environments, but environmental circumstances may either help or hinder industrial rescuers. In industrial rescue situations, abundant structural anchors often are available. The response time may be shorter, and the rescue teams may be either on-site or pre-designated response units such as industrial fire departments. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, requires that employers have an in-plant rescue plan for accidents. Outside responders to an industrial rescue need to pre-plan how they will integrate with other possible rescuers. Particular types of industrial rescue incidents, such as those involving wind turbines or confined spaces, can present their own challenges. Wind turbines offer their own challenges for access, hazards, equipment, and rescue techniques. A confined space rescue may involve hazardous materials and dangerous machinery, requiring rescuers to safeguard themselves with protective clothing and a breathing apparatus and use specialized equipment, such as a rope constructed from fibers resistant to corrosive substances. The commercial use of mountaineering and caving rope techniques to access hard-to-reach work sites is rapidly growing. Rope access may be quicker and simpler to use than traditional structural installations such as scaffolding and platforms. Rope access has a wide range of uses, including window cleaning, bridge painting, and engineering inspection of building exteriors and ocean oil platforms. On a work site, the worker typically has 2 ropes or lines, a working line and a backup safety line, with a harness as the primary means of attachment. As the use of rope access at work sites increases, rope rescue teams increasingly will be called upon to extract these workers from accidents that arms can't handle. The Society of Professional Rope Access Technicians, or SPRAT, develops consensus safety standards for vertical rope access work. Swift water rescue and ice rescue operations rely on rope rescue techniques as well. The use of rope and associated equipment is used to protect rescuers and save victims. Advanced skills such as constructing a movable control point or as simple as throwing a throw bag are used in the aquatic environment for rescues. Traditionally, people who work in the high-angle environment specialize in a particular discipline such as rock climbing. High-angle technicians are those who borrow techniques and equipment from all disciplines in the high-angle environment and put them to use for their own particular needs. These people are competent in a number of high-angle skills and can use them for particular needs such as rope rescue. They use the technology of the high-angle environment to conquer gravity and to move about with ease in any direction needed. They also may use the technology of rope rescue to move subjects away carefully from dangerous situations and into safe areas where any injuries can be treated. They do follow some basic principles so as to be both safe and successful in their work. High-angle rope skills cannot be learned simply by reading a book or watching this extremely informative and interesting PowerPoint. This text is designed as a training manual to be used under the guidance of a qualified instructor experienced in the field of high-angle techniques. Even with the best presentations and the best instructors, it is up to you current in your training. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Rope rescue, as well as the majority of the technical rescue disciplines, is a low-frequency event, meaning you are not going to get exposed to the techniques and skills required to stay proficient on a daily basis, like starting an IV or a room and contents fire. You have to be proactive in your training. A training schedule should be an indispensable part of every high-angle technician's routine. It is essential not only that a person understand the skills, but also that he or she use them instinctively. A fear of heights is natural to human beings, and a degree of it is necessary for survival. Individuals without any fear or respect for the hazards involved in high-angle work are a danger to themselves and to others. However, until a person feels at ease operating in the high-angle environment, discomfort will prevent the person from being effective in these activities. The only way to become accustomed to working hundreds of feet in the air and to become effective doing it is to spend time there, or, in other words, practice. The primary objective of high-angle activity is doing it safely, which is achieved through mental and physical concepts as well as team organization. Personal red flags or danger signs that an individual should be aware of when working in the high-angle environment include tunnel vision, or an obsession with a detail or unexpected problem that causes the rescuer to lose situational awareness. Physical fatigue, mental or physical impairment caused by environmental factors such as heat or cold, impairment caused by alcohol or drugs, failure to speak out when seeing a dangerous situation, overconfidence, leading to a lack of attention to the task at hand, the inability to concentrate because of outside concerns such as family or personal problems, overexcitement or the adrenaline rush, failure to ask for help or assistance. Do not be afraid to admit you are in over your head. Ask for advice or assistance when performing a skill or working with equipment you are uncertain of. Physical safety concepts should be observed at all times. Establish safety lines. Everyone at the edge must be tied in. When appropriate, use redundant systems, for example, more than one anchor. Wear a helmet and other appropriate personal protective equipment. This applies to all personnel on site. Check equipment constantly to make sure that it is in safe condition. One ideal that should be kept in mind by anyone working in the high-angle environment is to think in terms of systems. Although some elements are essential and important, activities in the high-angle environment are rarely completed with a single element, such as rope or a piece of hardware or only one person. The high-angle environment system consists of many elements which cannot be viewed in isolation. For the elements to operate safely and properly, they must be viewed together as a system. Just as a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, the high-angle system is only as effective as its weakest element. As you come to understand the various rigging systems, you will learn that each system component can be rigged in ways for maximum strength and sometimes in ways that will weaken the overall system. Many traits could be used to describe an effective rescuer, but one that particularly stands out is the rescuer's concern for the rescue subject or the person being rescued. The effective rescuer realizes that the rescue subject is the reason for everyone's involvement. The rescue subject is a human being in distress who may be in physical and perhaps emotional pain. As the rescuer, you could contribute to the distress by regarding the rescue subject more as an object than as a person. Rescuers must continually communicate with the rescue subject in their care, even when the subject is unconscious. Hearing is the last sense to go in an unconscious person. Many people will recall conversations that took place around them while they were unconscious. The method used to rescue a subject should be the one that poses the least amount of danger both to the rescue subject and to the rescuers. Some examples of a lower risk approach might include evaluating the situation before approaching it by checking for dangers to the rescuers. Don't rush, move carefully and meticulously, and don't crowd the rescuers. Choose the least dangerous route to the subject. Use the simplest rescue system that works effectively and safely, as more complicated systems pose a greater chance of something going wrong. Do not set up operations directly above the subject, where rocks or hardware may fall on the person. Instead, move slightly off to one side. Keep all non-essential personnel away from the area because they may dislodge rocks and other objects. Appoint a team safety officer to oversee equipment use, anchoring, rigging belays, personal rappelling and ascending, and seat harness tie-ins. The team safety officer must be among the most experienced of the team members, able to oversee all aspects of the operations, have the authority to interrupt any dangerous activity, ensure that all rescuers wear protective gear such as helmets. All personnel qualified for high-angle operations should wear their seat harnesses so that they are ready to act if needed. Before rescue operations begin, set up safety lines. Anyone near the edge must clip into one of them. If continued access up and down a steep slope is needed, a securely anchored safety line should be set up from top to bottom and off to the side, slightly away from the rescue site. A person who works in the high-angle environment must always keep in mind that anything can go wrong, and someday it probably will. Therefore, you should always be prepared for something to go wrong and be ready to extricate yourself. Prepare and train yourself for an emergency. Keep on yourself the gear necessary to perform all self-rescue, including a small assortment of carabiners, a couple of slings made from webbing or rope, and either a set of Prusik loops or a pair of ascenders. In the same way, each rescuer should be ready at any time to extricate any other rescuer who gets into difficulty. Everyone, no matter how intelligent and experienced, has an occasional lapse. All team members should be alert to the development of any unsafe condition and be ready to make appropriate corrections. A high-angle rope technician must care for rope and hardware. Good care is critical because lives depend on these tools. Don't lay unsecured equipment at the edge of a drop. Keep all gear secured when using equipment on a vertical face. Either attach the gear to the system or secure it to the equipment sling that many harnesses have. Do not lay equipment on the ground or floor where it can be easily lost or damaged by debris or dirt. Lay out an equipment tarp or hang a sling on a tree or other beam. All hardware not in use should be placed on the tarp or clipped into the sling. Inspect all gear after each operation. Ropes need special care. Never step on a rope. Stepping on a rope can grind grit into the core, or it can damage the load supporting fibers. Take all defective gear out of service immediately. Belay all lowering and raising of rescue subjects. Any rescuers who request them must be provided with belays. In the high-angle environment, rescuers must have attention to detail in order to work effectively and to prevent injury to themselves and others. A lapse could result in severe injury or death in the high-angle environment. Obsessing over details will not help you either, as this can prevent you from completing a task. Instead, with a focused mind, you need to be able to examine a system quickly and immediately to determine if all the necessary details are in place. The ability to do this quickly and effectively comes only with practice. Furthermore, although attending to details is necessary, you must also have the ability to improvise. Every high-angle situation is different, and the circumstances will vary in terms of the weather and terrain. Therefore, a well-trained individual with good judgment who is able to adapt to any situation is preferable to one who is well-trained to perform in only one way. Accidents or near misses almost always occur because of organizational and management failures. Rescuers can help avoid this by training together often to combine individual skills into one working unit, appointing a safety officer to make sure that safe procedures are followed during training and real rescues, and make sure that the safety officer is someone other than the team leader because the leader often is too busy to check all the safety systems. Falling objects is one of the most common dangers in the high-angle environment. Whenever a hard object begins to fall, the universal warning yell is rock. Call this out even if you think no one is below you. The rope rescue technician is someone who is trained in the necessary skills for rope rescue, has shown that he or she is competent in those skills, and continually trains to maintain them. He or she should be able to demonstrate the proper use and care of rope and other equipment. They should be able to demonstrate the ability to tie correctly and without hesitation the 10 knots described in the knots chapter, plus the Munter hitch and the Prusik hitch. They must be able to rig safe and secure anchors, calculate system safety factors on various systems, belay another person safely and confidently, rappel safely, confidently, and under control. Tie off a rappel device to operate safely with hands-free rope, and then return to a safe and controlled rappel. They must also be able to operate on the rope with the body in any position, ascend safely, and understand the uses and limitations of mechanical ascenders. Tie correctly and without hesitation a friction hitch, and know how to use it. They must be able to ascend a fixed rope safely using both friction hitches and mechanical ascenders, changing over from rappelling to ascending, and from ascending to rappelling confidently and safely. And they must also be able to extricate himself or herself from a jammed rappel device or similar problem without using a knife. In addition to personal vertical skills, the rope rescue technician must train and qualify in the following areas in order to qualify in the area of rescue: emergency medical skills, team skills, communication skills, and other skills depending on the environment, such as land navigation, snow and ice travel, or survival. Throughout history, humans have been able to conquer much of the world around them through innovation, making it possible to operate in difficult or hostile environments. One of the last environments conquered by humans is the high-angle environment. Mountaineering may combine skills such as climbing, camping, snow and ice travel, and often test the will to survive against the very worst of the natural forces. Climbing is a more specialized activity than mountaineering and is sometimes referred to or defined as rock climbing. Vertical caving is one of the newer vertical sports, beginning only in the 1950s. Depending on the environment and the rescuers involved, rope rescue may also be called vertical rescue or, in some cases, technical rescue. The use of life safety rope and associated equipment in the fire service has undergone tremendous change during recent decades. The increase in terrorist incidents and other forms of violence has prompted greater preparation by law enforcement and the military in the use of high-angle operations. The principles of high-angle rescue are similar in industrial and natural environments, but environmental circumstances may either help or hinder the industrial rescuers. Using rope access to get to hard-to-reach work sites may be quicker and simpler than using traditional structural installations such as scaffolding and platforms. Swift water rescue is usually an emergency, but potential rescuers must have the appropriate personal protective equipment and rescue gear before attempting a rescue. High-angle rope technicians are trained and experienced in the skills needed in the high-angle environment. They use the technology of the high-angle environment to conquer gravity and to move about with ease in any direction needed. This text is designed as a training manual to be used under the guidance of a qualified instructor experienced in the field of high-angle rescue techniques. High-angle skills deteriorate quickly without constant practice and regular training. Until a person feels at ease operating in the high-angle environment, that discomfort will prevent the person from being effective in high-angle activities. Beyond doubt, the primary objective of high-angle activity is doing it safely. The high-angle environment system consists of many elements such as rope, hardware, anchors, and other elements which cannot be viewed in isolation. One of the most significant traits of an effective rescuer is the rescuer's concern for the subject, or the person being rescued. The approach to the rescue subject should be the one that involves the least amount of danger, both to the subject and to the rescuer. Finally, you should be ready for something to go wrong and be ready to extricate yourself. In the same way, each rescuer should be ready at any time to extricate any other rescuer who gets into difficulty. Good care of high-angle gear is critical because lives depend on these tools. Attention to detail in the high-angle environment is necessary for the rescuers to work effectively and to prevent injury to themselves and others. Many accidents or near misses occur because of organizational and management failures. One of the most common dangers in the high-angle environment is falling objects, either hardware dropped by others or dislodged rocks. A rope rescue technician is one who is trained in the necessary skills for rope rescue, has shown that he or she is competent in those skills, and continually trains to maintain them. That concludes Chapter 1.